Yeah, so crypto's getting very popular. Everyone wants to swap tokens, and originally they swap it on centralized exchanges, Binance's, KuCoins, Coinbases of the world. But then decentralized exchanges kind of became popular because these Binances and KuCoins and centralized exchanges have their flaws in the sense that not everyone can swap tokens there, not everyone can list their tokens there. So the alternate, better version is to go decentralized in the sense that you're swapping tokens on the blockchain. It's permissionless and censorship resistant in the sense that we don't really stop anyone from swapping. We don't check who you are. As long as you have a MetaMask wallet, you come to our exchange and swap your tokens. If you want to list your token, if you're a project fundraising, we also don't have too many guidelines. As long as you're legitimate, you're not trying to scam anyone, we will list your token same day, and people can start swapping your tokens. It's a very easy way to fundraise, and I think that's just a better model for investors, for users to get into crypto.
Okay, because typically decentralized products are, a little bit more complex on the user end. That's been traditionally one of the issues, as I understand, why they've taken so long to take off. So what's changed since, say, like 1 or 2 years ago when there wasn't so many decentralized exchanges?
Yeah, so you're right that when you're custodying your own assets versus a company custodying them for you, there's a little bit more risk and overhead of learning how to do that safely. But we've come a long way in terms of safety, in terms of wallets. MetaMask wallet, hardware wallets like Ledger, Trezor, they're very safe now. If you just spend the couple hours it takes to learn how to use those safely and getting them set up, you're going to be in a very good spot. And actually, having custody of your own assets is good in the sense that no one can freeze your assets and say, today you cannot trade these or send them anywhere. And it's also freeing in the sense that it's very mobile. You can take that anywhere you want. You can secure it how you want. So that's come a long way in terms of safety. And then the UX side is also improving. It's another side that was lagging of how do we get people to understand these technical frameworks from a UX perspective. But that's also come a long way where it almost feels like you're just on a centralized exchange again versus a decentralized exchange. It's very seamless.
Okay. And you mentioned just before that you do a little bit of a vetting before you put new tokens onto the exchange to make sure they're not scams. What does that process look like? Because I'm often looking across at different projects and also trying to determine how they fit into the larger ecosystem.
Yeah, that's a good question. So, in this decentralized world, anyone can create a token. Sometimes it's a token with the same name as a legitimate token. They're trying to pretend to be that project. Sometimes it's just a project saying they'll do good things, but they're actually doing bad things. And we do want to protect users, but at the same time, we don't want to, red tape anyone from getting their token traded in our exchange. So we have this concept of a whitelist where, these 50 to 100 tokens, we have looked at these and these are safe. But you can also trade the other tokens. They're not whitelisted, but they're tradable. We don't stop anyone from trading these tokens. But at that point, the risk is on you. You do your own research to make sure those tokens are safe, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And I assume as part of that, getting onto that whitelist, you would have some auditing requirements on the token.
It's very lax in this environment because as a decentralized exchange, we try not to retain that centralization where we say this project is good, this project is bad, because it has that human aspect of picking the winners versus the losers. So unless something comes out as an outright scam, we're not going to say you're bad. We're going to say, hey, we think this has a shot, and go ahead and trade your token, because it's really onto the user. It's not onto the platform to take on this risk at that point.
Yeah, okay, I get you. So one of the projects recently that I've been looking at is called Hex, and they're on several aggregator sites, Nomics being one of them. I assume you may have caught the story about them being knocked out of third position on that aggregator site.
Okay, tell me a little bit more.
So Nomics is an aggregator like CoinMarketCap or many others, and they had Hex in third position underneath Ethereum based on the CoinMarket capitalization metric. And it was 1 or 2 weeks ago they decided that Hex didn't belong there, and they tried to justify their decision for knocking them off the third position.
Yeah.
And it came, the conversation came around to the liquidity of the tokens. So it was claims that there's 96% of this lot is held by a so-called origin address.
Got it.
And so this has also been a preventative measure for why they're not listed on so many exchanges. I think they're actually only on Uniswap.
I see.
So I'm just curious if you have you heard of Richard Hart or Hex or working in an exchange. I assume they would have approached you to try to get a listing somewhere along the line.
Yes, I've heard of Hex, and I can comment on the whole market cap and ranking thing. In crypto, these tokens, they're minted. Their caps are sometimes not hard cap. They're soft cap tokens where they can keep minting more. And even if with a hard cap, sometimes they can say only 10% are circulating, but the rest are just kind of there for later. And so to measure the true market cap of a crypto project is difficult, right? Because I can say my token's worth $10 and it's trading, but I have a billion other tokens somewhere else not trading. But if you multiply 10 by a billion, I have a $10 billion market cap at that time. And so, some projects try to use this to their advantage to get ranked higher. I'm not saying anyone's doing it maliciously, but it just makes it hard for these ranking sites to truly determine what the true market caps are. And it's the same for our exchanges too. We try to, we don't look at market cap when tokens list. We want to give everyone a fair shot. But in our analytics, we want to make it very fair. We don't want anybody to be faking volume or be faking their own market cap, right? We want investors to have an accurate picture of what tokens they're buying. That's what we're trying to do.
Okay, now that makes perfect sense. Would you like to add anything on the general state of decentralization in the industry right now? Because from what I've understood, there was at the beginning, 10 years ago with Bitcoin and what have you, there was a lot of emphasis placed on decentralization, self-sovereignty, and some of these other value propositions. Do you think the industry has veered away from some of those core principles over the years?
I think we all know that regulation's coming, and we want to play nicely with that, right? We want the world to embrace DeFi, to embrace crypto, and to do that, we need people in traditional finance, institutional players, or just users who aren't comfortable with crypto yet to feel comfortable. But on the other hand, we do want to stay very decentralized because I think part of that is innovation. Sometimes you want to innovate, but within the realms of current regulation and laws, you're not sure. It's a gray area, and you want to cover yourself. So if you're a centralized project, you have to register a legal entity, a business, a company, and all that. There's a lot of red tape that gets in the way of innovation. But if you go decentralized, you say my project is global, nobody really owns it, token holders own it, maybe you run a DAO model where it's governed by token holders, then in that sense, there's not really anyone to go after. Even if the government says, no, this is wrong, I want to stop it, it's a decentralized organization, it's not bound to a country or a person, so it's very hard to stop that type of movement. And we're not doing that because we think we're shady and want to hide in the shadows. We're doing that because we think we're actually pushing innovation in the technical and financial world, and we don't want regulation to get in the way. So in that model, we can iterate very quickly. We can try new ideas very quickly because we don't have to worry about getting a sign-off from an entity or a government, if that makes sense.